Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So we've got some analysis for tomorrow. We're going to start off with the 210 at Newbury, and there's a few things I wanted to show you and tell you about this one. So first of all, um, interestingly, Dan Skelton had a runner in this race called Home Free, and he's taken him out, and he was withdrawn or made a non-runner like an hour after the race was confirmed. Supposedly due to a bruised foot. Vet certificate, bruised foot. I don't think so. I think he might have been taken out because they got their other one in. They were surprised that Cartoon and Co got in off such a low mark and yet was a workable weight for Harry Skelton. And yeah, I think Cartoon and Co is going to take all of the beating here. He is being really well supported now. We just load up the current odds. Let's just refresh this page, see what they're currently looking at. Bet365, you can ignore those. We're going to say fours. You can get fours at Bet UK. Nope. 7-2 then is still available. It is a horse I highlighted a couple of times. We were on him last time out as well, and I just think it didn't quite go to plan. And I posted on the 21st, this was yesterday, that there's a form line with a previous winner, Billy the Big Red or something like that. Let's just have a look. It was Billy the Real Big Red was winning a hat-trick. I said a form line with this most likely runs on Sunday. He doesn't. He actually runs on Saturday. Runs Saturday instead. An interesting non-runner already. This was yesterday at 12:18 I posted that. Because I don't believe that Home Free... I'd like to see this bruised foot, to be honest. I think they've done this because they've realised they've got Carton and Co in, and Carton and Co will take all of the beating. I thought his last time out effort was absolutely fine when he just didn't run down Spiced Rum, Sandown. Things didn't quite go to plan during the race. And yeah, I think if Spiced Rum had made one mistake, I thought Spiced Rum jumped beautifully down the final straight. If he'd made a mistake, I think Harry would have caught him on Cartoon and Co. Harry will know, I messed it up yesterday, last time. Over 2 mile, we do need a little bit further. And he'll be closer to the pace, and I think he'll be able to win this as a 4-year-old. Obviously, he's getting all of the weight allowances. If we have a look on Odds Checker, they actually show you 10 stone 2, and yet, Spirits Bay is carrying 12 stone, and yet he's only actually rated £14 higher. And because of the 4-year-old allowances, I fully expect Cartoon and Co to take all of the beating here. And it's also great to see that he has come out clear top rated on our ratings. Harry, we know, rides the course well. Dan's trying to win the champion trainer title, so any bits of prize money they will be trying to farm over the next couple of weeks. So as I wanted to demonstrate as well that he was clear top rated, another reason why I'm really keen on him, hence I've left the ratings open for this race. Future races, which we move on to now, the 225, I can't show you the ratings because they are for premium members only. The selection that I'm going to go for in the 225 is a bit of a strange one, or I kind of feel that this horse could be very well supported, and I think it's going to be tipped up left, right and centre. I actually remember this horse being a bit of a gamble last year in this race, and it's Dirty Old Town. He was a gambler in this race. He went off 15-2. I'm saying 15-2, 17-2. I think he'd been really shorter than that earlier on in the day. He ran no sort of race that day, but clearly there was a lot more expected of him as a 4-year-old. He went off 17-2 that day, as I mentioned. He went off 9-1 then next time at Musselburgh in a Silver Arrow. The last two of those last 3 runs, he went off 15-2 at Kempton and then 15-2 at Lingfield in relatively sized handicaps in terms of there was 13 and 10 in those. Last time out, he finally got his act together at Newmarket on the heavy going, when beating Shandy's Star, and he won it really comfortably. So that did mean he went up from a mark of 77 to 82, but this is kind of where I think they were expecting the horse, or this is the type of form they were expecting of the horse last year. And yet he ran in this race last year off 88. So despite coming into the race essentially in good form, off the back of a win, he's still £6 lower than when he was well supported last year. And I'm surprised currently he's a bigger price. He's a bigger price than when he was absolutely gambled. Now, I know it went wrong last year and he didn't run very well. But I want to forgive him that run. I do believe that Connections believe the horse is better than that. The fact that he got so well supported. And he has now moved to Dylan Cunha. I'm not totally sure how we say that name just yet. I'm sure with a good season, Dylan can be a household name in terms of being as a trainer by the end of the season. I'm going to go for Cunha at the moment. He's moved to Dylan. Dylan took a few runs to work out what to do with him. 7 furlongs on the all-weather, 6 furlongs on the all-weather didn't work. They went up to 7 on heavy going, so it probably felt at least like a mile, and he was a very impressive winner. I think keeping him on the turf, keeping him on this soft ground, I think he can show what they were expecting last season in the Spring Mile. I think he can show it this season, and he's currently available at 10 to 1. So yeah, I'm hopeful of a big run there from Dirty Old Town. We then move on to the Lincoln, and if you've watched my Lincoln video, you'll know that I've got one of my 2 declared. I'm really surprised that likes of Majestic doesn't run. Majestic was £4 lower. £2 lower, sorry. £2 lower for finishing 4th. And who was our other one? Great Gadium would have been £8 lower when finishing 6th. Neither of those run from last year. It's very strange, to be honest. The horse I have tipped up or selected is, where is he? Navaggio. Here he is, Navaggio, for James Hawson and Richard Kingscote. Now, he's won over further, so I don't think the ground will be an issue. Kingscote takes the ride, which is always good when you've got a front runner. He does like to make the running. And if we went purely on his last time out effort, when he was beating, didn't have much to do in Londoner and Helvetic Dream, who were rated 102, 98 and 104, and he beat them, giving them weight, he's probably ran to over 100. And yet he's still, now that he's moved to England, he's still only rated 96. This could be the time to catch Navaggio in the he's just coming over from Ireland. We know Irish horses are very often incorrectly rated in the UK. I think he might be. I think he could be still ahead of his mark. And yeah, as I said, with Richard Kingscote taking the ride, hopefully he goes forward. He isn't particularly well drawn in stall 1. Now, and I would like him to do one of 2 things. Either stick to that far side and gamble and try and stay over there and see what happens, or get out, get across and get into the front of the group. If you can get into the front of the group, at least you're giving yourself a chance rather than being on the wing at the front. That's, for me, is pointless. Either go stick to one of the rails, as in the far side rail, or get in front of the group and try and make all of the running from the front of the group. Yeah, I don't really want to see him over that far side or on the edge of the group in the front, because that doesn't do anything. That doesn't help your chance at all. So I'm still hopeful of a big run. The draw wasn't ideal, but I do think he is well handicapped, particularly on his last run, sorry. And you can still actually currently get a decent price about him, 25s. I think that's because of the draw. I think if he'd been drawn in a much higher number, 15, 16, 17, he would be down in the 14s, 12 to 1 sort of price. Moving on to Newbury, or back to Newbury, for the 3:15. Now, I'm taking a bit of a chance on this one. Last week, I think it was, we had a massive gamble from a Dan Skelton horse that didn't look like it had a lot of form. And I kind of feel they might be doing the same again here, in a race that is worth winning. It's worth 28 grand. As I've mentioned, Dan and Harry Skelton definitely want to be winning races at the moment. Dan Skelton trying to win the champion trainer. The more prize money he gets, the more likely he is to win it, obviously. So they'll be trying to send their best horses to all of the feature and lucrative handicaps and all the races that they want to win. Now, Lindy Riley is currently available at 12 to 1. And on some of her form, you could understand why she's 12 to 1. There were a couple of bits of in her runs, though, that just kind of suggest that maybe she might be quite good. So she finished 3rd on her debut under Charlie Todd. Now, that's interesting because Harry rides tomorrow, first time. The horse has had 3 runs. She's had 3 runs. Charlie Todd, Tristan Durrell. Harry takes over. So they've obviously feel that it's worth Harry riding. and they've not sent it to, a nothing race and said we've got no chance of winning, so we might as well go and win an easy race, or we've got a better handicapped novice, mare's novice. They feel that she has got some form. And go and watch her first run when she was third behind Go to War and Jour d'Avation. I'm hoping it's said in a French accent. Held up out the back at 50-1, ran on quite nicely. Then 2 runs ago, did something very similar back at Ludlow again. Held up at the back, never really got involved, appeared outpaced, ran on quietly under Tristan Durrell. And then last time out, when stepped up in trip to Doncaster, in a qualifier for this race, which I don't think they would have wanted to win, they would have just wanted her to run okay to get her in this race, she was going quite nicely when there was a faller in front of her, who unfortunately lost her life, and badly hampered Lindy Riley that day, and Tristan just allowed her to come home in her own time after that. Now, because of those 3 runs where they clearly look like they've been holding her back, she's only got a mark of 104. I think she's better than that. I definitely think she's better than that. Just going to go and have a look at Go to War, who she was third to on debut. Go to War is currently, or was previously rated 123, won a novice qualifier last time off 123. I think Lindy Riley's not that far behind, to be honest, and therefore suggesting 104 for Lindy Riley might look very silly for the handicapper. But it could also be that I think Dan might have placed her beautifully. Twice over 2 mile, gaining experience. Then went on heavy going, which maybe she didn't want either, because she's going to run here on good to soft. Didn't want the heavy going, got hampered. Things didn't quite go to plan, but definitely shown signs of a horse there that she can certainly win races. This is going to be a competitive, but it's interesting that Dan's decided to run this one out of all of his mares novices. Now, I don't know how many he's got. It might be that he's not got any that are any good. But yeah, I definitely want to... I'm having a bet on Lindy Riley because I think she could be... She's definitely better than 104. Is she good enough to win this race? That's the question. We stick to Newbury for the 4.25, and we're actually going to stick to the same team again with Dan and Harry Skelton, with Mount Tempest, who we're going to ignore his last time out effort when he pulled up at Chepstow on the heavy going. I don't really think he wanted that heavy going, and things didn't quite go to plan that day. He clearly ran no sort of race, and it was reported that the jockey said he was never travelling. So let's go back to his run before that, when he was third behind Cotmask and Fine Casting at Sandown. That was a much better performance, and it was a decent run, actually. If you go and watch it, he's towards the front and is travelling quite nicely. And one of the loose horses, excuse my voice, I do need to cough again. I'm going to pause the video again. It was Sir Psycho, just kept running in his way. Nearly took him out at the pond fence, as in they needed to go round the pond fence. But Sir Psycho thought about jumping it, nearly carried Mount Tempest into that. Harry just kept having to ride when he didn't really want to be. Kept having to ask for an effort to get himself back into the right position, and yet still jumping the last. He was still challenging Cotmask. Okay, he wasn't going to beat Cotmask, and then just lost second in the final stride. Cotmask obviously has come out and won again since, off a higher mark, off a £7 higher mark, so that was a good run in itself anyway. Mount Tempest is down £1 from that effort. I think if he gets to the front here, against horses that I don't think there's anything lurking, that's particularly well handicapped, like Cotmask was, I think Harry could get an easy time at the front here, and I think he's going to run a really big race. And he's suggested that he's going to be priced up around the 11-2 sort of mark. If we can get around that'll be fantastic for Mount Tempest. Wouldn't surprise me if they actually opened him up as favourite. If anything above 5-2, 3-1, I'll be having a bet on Mount Tempest. But I thought I'd talk about him anyway, because he is one I'm keen on. The final selection that I'm going to have is in, not this race, it's in the next one at Newbury. Where is it? The 5 o'clock, the Veterans Handicap Chase. And it's another one for Harry, but not Skelton. Could not be picking Ashtown Lad on the back of 4 consecutive pulled ups, I think it is now. I know he's dropped significantly in the handicap from 144 down to 135. But yeah, he's got to show some form before I'd even be thinking about backing him. The one I am going to have a bet on to try and make amends is Fortescue. Now, Fortescue was our selection last time when he finished second behind Highland Hunter, who unfortunately lost his life at Cheltenham. I thought it was a good run from Fortescue that day, and it's interesting to see Harry Cobden keeping the ride or wanting to ride again. The horse has had wind surgery, the horse has got a visor on. It wouldn't surprise me if Harry came back in and said, you do that and I'll ride it again and we'll win next time. Obviously, Harry Cobden also wants to win races because he's in the jockey's title with Sean Bowen, who actually rides against him here in Frankie de Burley. But with the wind surgery and the visor on, Harry Cobden keeping the ride, the track is fine, the trip is fine. I think he'll go really close. Obviously, the track is fine because he ran it in this race at this course last time. I think Harry will just make sure nothing slips away from him this time and knows that will know that he'll stay further. So he'll be very keen to be riding him quite positively. And, you know, against these veterans, that might prove to be a very good tactic in that they might be a little bit slow to react. Quite a few old plodders in this race, whereas I think Fortescue's still running some very decent performances. His 4th back in December to Naslam in a Grand National trial, that was fine, and second last time out to Highland Hunter when just losing interest at about, the 2.5 mile point. If he'd kept him a little bit closer to Highland Hunter, I think he would have beaten Highland Hunter. He could just never quite keep up with him at a crucial time, and although he's dropping in trip, I think that'll mean Harry can be a lot more positive on him, and I don't really think there's a lot of speedier types in this race. I think a lot of these are staying old timers that Harry can beat through being a very good jockey. So yeah, there's some thoughts. Final one that I did want to just very quickly mention. Moon Over Miami runs in a maiden at Doncaster. I'm not backing him tomorrow, but I do wonder where we might end up seeing him towards the end of the season. Last season, these owners were very, very clever with their horses. They ran a lot of them in maidens and stuff, didn't really win. And then they went on sprees of 2 or 3 wins, on the bounce sort of thing. So I'm just watching to see Moon Over Miami. I'll be keeping an eye on these owners this season, as I think they like to get their horses quite well handicapped and then run them in decent races and win some decent handicaps. So a quick recap. In the 210, Cartoon & Co., I think they might have taken their other horse out because they fully expect to win this. With that in mind, actually, they do also run Carouche, I think it is, on Sunday at Ascot in the other juvenile handicap hurdle. That's the race I thought they were going to run Cartoon & Co. in. I think they could win both Carouche and Cartoon & Co. In the 225 at Doncaster, Dirty Old Town off a £6 lower mark than when well supported in this race last year. We're already on Navaggio. I'm hoping he gets to the front and tries to make all the running. Lindy Riley for the Skelton team could be very well handicapped, or she is well handicapped. I'm expecting a very big run from her. Mount Tempest, hopefully there's no loose horses to get in the way this time. Off a £1 lower mark than when finishing third at Sandown, I think he'll take all of the beating. And finally, Fortescue can be ridden a bit more positively by Harry Cobden over this slightly shorter trip, and I think he will take all of the beating. And finally, just keep an eye out for these owners, the owners of Moon Over Miami, with handicappers down the line.